The program is live and the audience, frozen in front of their screens, is watching Bertie Pruitt sitting on stage, radiant and confident, waiting for the promised transformation. But the host suddenly changes her tone and announces that her best friend Connie is in the studio to share some important news. Bertie turns to her friend with a friendly smile, but she, barely hiding her excitement, begins to say that she has been keeping a terrible secret for a long time. The hall freezes, and Connie, avoiding Bertie's gaze, confesses that she is having an affair with Bill. There is a pause, then the audience explodes with reaction. The cameras capture the face of Bertie, who sits in a daze, trying to realize what she's heard. The host leans over to her and sympathetically asks her how she's feeling. She blinks, trying not to show shock, but her hands begin to shake. Realizing that millions of viewers are watching her humiliation, she rises from her seat, fixing her dress, and, gathering the remnants of her dignity, leaves the stage. Later, backstage, tears stream down her face, but she forces herself to calm down for her daughter's sake. Returning home to Chicago turns into agony. Bernice, her young daughter, sits next to her in the car, clutching a letter from Bill in her hands. She hopes Daddy will come to get them, but Bertie knows that won't happen. She remembers their home, a cozy nest that is now no longer hers. In Smithville they are met by Ramona, her eccentric mother, who immediately takes control of the situation. She takes them to an old house filled with memories of Bertie's childhood. Little Travis, her nephew, runs briskly out to meet them, scattering toys all around him. He is happy to see new people in the house, especially Bernice, who is wary at first. Bertie sighs heavily, looking around now. This is her new reality. The first day in town goes awkwardly. People furtively cast glances at her, whispering behind her back. Word travels fast in a small town, and now she is the main topic of discussion. Bernice, accustomed to city life, is having a hard time getting used to her grandmother's old house, where the floorboards creak and the smell of baked goods wafts through the air. She misses her father and waits impatiently for his call, but the phone is silent. Bertie pretends everything is fine, but inside she is torn by pain. She sits on the porch, trying to collect her thoughts, when an old pickup truck pulls up to the house. Out of it steps Justin, her longtime acquaintance who was once in love with her a long time ago. He smiles, easy and simple, as if nothing has changed, and offers her a job at his real estate agency. She smiles back weakly, promising to think about it. Days pass and Bertie realizes she can't live without a job. She accepts Justin's offer, though her pride rebels against it. At first she has a hard time with everything. She is not well oriented in the documents, confused in terms. Justin patiently helps her and sometimes makes fun of her awkwardness. Gradually a warmth develops between them, but Bertie keeps her distance. She is not yet ready for new feelings. In the evenings she sits in her room, looking at old photographs, remembering a life that no longer exists. Bernice asks more and more often about Bill, and Bertie doesn't know what to say. One night, the girl overhears her grandmother and mother talking and learns that her father is not going to take her away. She hides under the covers and cries for a long time. The next morning her eyes are puffy, but she doesn't say anything. One day Bertie walks into a supermarket and runs into women who were once her friends. They smile sweetly, but there is a hidden judgment in their looks. She feels like a stranger, like a lost person, but pretends she doesn't care. As she walks outside, Justin catches up with her. He suggests a ride out of town. She agrees and they drive down the deserted road, the wind playing in her hair and her heart feeling lighter for the first time in a long time. They talk, laugh, reminisce about their high school years. At one point he takes her hand, but she gently yanks her palm away. He doesn't say anything, just nods, realizing she needs time. Things are not going well at school for Bernice. The girl feels like an outsider among her peers. One day in class she is bullied, calling her father a traitor. She clenches her fists, but does not respond. In the evening, she comes home and angrily tosses Bill's letter into the trash can. Bertie notices this but doesn't say anything, just silently sits next to her, hugs her, and whispers that everything will be okay. Time passes and Bertie slowly begins to find herself. She stops being afraid to go outside, to socialize with people. She's even starting to smile more often, though there's still a nagging emptiness inside. Justin waits patiently, not rushing her. One day he comes to her porch with 2 cups of coffee. They sit in silence, enjoying the cool evening. She looks at him and thinks for the first time, maybe she should give herself a chance. The day comes when Bill finally arrives. Bernice runs out to meet him, her eyes burning with hope. He smiles, but his gaze slides past. He tells her he can't take her away, that he has a new life. The girl doesn't realize what's happening, her lips quivering. She looks at her mother, and she clenches her teeth and tries not to cry. Bill hugs his daughter goodbye and drives away, leaving her heartbroken. Bernice stands still, unable to move. Bertie leans over to her, stroking her hair. "You're strong," she whispers. "We'll get through this." That same night, Justin comes to their house. He sees Bertie sitting on the porch, her shoulders slumped, her eyes staring into nothing. He sits down next to her without saying a word. After a moment, she turns to him and, unable to contain herself, presses herself against his shoulder. He hugs her gently, feeling her body tremble. A few more months pass. Bertie is no longer the lost woman she was when she returned to Smithville. She has learned to value herself, no longer afraid of other people's opinions. She looks in the mirror and sees not a victim, but a woman who has weathered the storm and stayed standing. Bernice is changing, too. She no longer waits for calls from Bill, no longer dreams of the past. Instead, she is learning to live in the here and now. One morning Justin pulls up to the house. He gets out of the car holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Bertie steps out to meet him, a slight smile touching her lips. "Tomorrow will be a new day," he says. She nods, feeling a warm feeling blossom in her chest. Yes, tomorrow will be a new day. And it will be theirs.